Future has an advantage. Well, we've been around as a publisher since, 1985. And we've got great titles such as Horse and Hound, which was founded in 1884, all the way to Tom's Guide and Who, What, Where. In fact, Who, What, Where is celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. So we've got advantage of, we've got many years of trust with our readers and authority around our topics. Two of which are the main things that the LLMs look at when it comes to discoverability, right? So for us, we're focused on new products around AI. We're focused on all of the things that are currently growing within our organization. Branded content, experiential, events, email, IP around video. So while there's some things that we need to work out because of audience, we're extremely optimistic about what the future entails.
No pun intended, I'm sure. From that future, wanted to learn a little bit more about what Future Optic is. What market challenges were those products designed to solve for advertisers?
Yes. Well, the main problems that brands are having today in sort of the transition of the consumer to LLMs, right? So when I was reading a stat the other day about how ChatGPT was the fastest to 100 million users, right? It took, I think, 2 months, whereas TikTok took 9 months and Google took 5 years. so that's the main focus. And when I look at sort of Future Optic, what it is, it's our AEO GEO solution that looks at brand mentions and citations and combines that with our trust and authority across all of the content that we drive. And then we help consumers discover the brands that they're looking for.
Beyond AI search, what are clients wanting most from media partners today, and how are those expectations changing?
Yeah, I think that maybe 15, 20 years ago, brands could live in a couple different places. They could live up at sort of the awareness or brand level, do a lot of TV commercials, or they could be very performance oriented, do a lot of search, do a lot of affiliate, do a lot of PPC. I think it's implicit among brands to do both, right? So it's super important to combine the top of the funnel with the bottom of the funnel. So really, all brands, publishers, they're looking for outcomes, right? So meaning, hey, I have all of this money that I'm spending across all of my marketing channels. What's my outcome, right? So that's what we're trying to do. Is we're going to have different solution sets from branding to awareness. To purchase, and the combined aggregate of all those solutions needs to drive outcomes for the brands.
Mike, I want to stick with one more question about the discovery part of the funnel.
Yeah, sure.
Looking ahead, where do you see the biggest opportunities for advertisers in this new discovery landscape?
Yeah, I think for advertisers, as they're looking at their consumer, as they're looking at connecting their brand to the consumer, I think this opens up even a deeper connection with their consumer, right? Because in the past, you would go onto Google, go to search, type in a couple words, best iPhone. Today, it's, hey, I'm 50-year-old male living in Connecticut. I've got 5 kids. Today, automatically more about your customer. And this gives the brand an opportunity. I think it goes back to what was originally in the 90s, one-to-one marketing, right? I think there's an opportunity to go back to one-to-one marketing, but we actually have the power because of computer processing, because of AI, because of data, because of all of the knowledge we have around our consumers and what they do, to really make that true.